Food Network once called him the mashup king of the food industry. And one of the burgers concepts that he co-founded alongside hip-hop legend Bun B was named Best Burger in America by Good Morning America.
Every store we opened, same thing would happen, right? Every location. And we're really onto something now. This is not normal. Why don't we just buy this NFT and build a brand out of it? So we bought the Bored Ape Yacht Club picture. It was only supposed to be open for 3 months. And then it started getting, once it opened, it became insane. My name was everywhere, whether it was good or bad at the time, whether you were doing it in California. I've done it before. I don't see anyone doing it here in Texas. Texas is a meat and potatoes thing. This is bun meat, like not much, very simple. And I was like, if I were to do this, I want to hit him up. He said it was not just the best burger he's ever had, it's one of the best things he's ever eaten. Right? The functions of the NFT and the value that it can have. So there's just a lot of the use case scenarios, people being able to pay with crypto. I was just trying to experiment and try something like out of my comfort zone.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, alright?
My highs and lows, inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. I can see no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.
Welcome back to a special Los Angeles edition of the Last 5 Hour Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. Hit that like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and give us a follow across all of our social media channels where we can be found at Last 5 Hour Podcast. You can find me at jlubriel26 across all of my social media platforms, and you can find Mike, who's here in spirit, at If Mike Is Here. Today's guest is a serial entrepreneur who has helped build some of the most creative and culturally impactful food brands of the past decade. From viral dessert concepts to coffee shops to one of the most talked about burger brands in America. He has a unique ability to bring an idea and turn it into something people can connect with. Food Network once called him the mashup king of the food industry. And one of the burgers concepts that he co-founded alongside hip-hop legend Bun B was named Best Burger in America by Good Morning America. Today, we're going to talk about the origin story, the early ventures that shaped the path, the pivots that led him into completely different industries, and the mindset behind building more than 20 concepts that now span cities around the world. We'll get into the highs, the setbacks, the partnerships that help elevate the vision, and what it really takes to continuously create ideas that resonate with people and culture. Welcome to the Last 5 Hour Podcast, Andy Nguyen.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much, man.
Thanks for the great intro.
You can add that to your beat or to your role every time. Like here's the intro that I prefer that you.
No, I appreciate that.
I appreciate the time so much. I know this has been a couple months that we've been talking, so I had to come to Los Angeles to sit down with you.
You guys put in work. You guys were down to come out. I was like, well, you're coming out here, okay?
Absolutely, we go everywhere. So before we jump into the actual Q&A portion of the interview, we like to start off with an icebreaker. Okay. So I'm going to throw a word, and you're going to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay. The word is risk.
Everything.
Okay.
Everything.
And why do you expand on that a little bit more?
Because I think an entrepreneur, when you have to risk everything, it's like one of the toughest things to do, and failure rate is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's like I have a lot of admiration for like entrepreneurs because you guys fail a lot, but the wins make up for all the failures, right?
Absolutely.
That's the point, right? And speaking about that, so before we get to the audience and myself appreciates the person who's in front of us, I always like to start at the origin story, like in the very beginning, because from the outside, all stories look kind of clean, right? But the reality is there was a lot of failures in between. So one thing that we like to sort of start with, like where did you grow up? Like what was the kind of environment that shaped you early on?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Orange County. The area I grew up is called Little Saigon. Little Saigon is probably the largest Vietnamese community outside of Vietnam.
Really?
So when you go there, it's everything is Vietnamese. Some of the best Vietnamese food in the world is in that area. So I grew up there. My parents came here during the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Started in different states, and they ended up together in Orange County, and that's where they had me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Not a bad place to be in. But were you always like entrepreneurial as a kid, or did that come like later on? Like, what type of kid would you describe yourself as?
I was very quiet. I didn't talk much. I was more observant.
Okay.
I was always for sure the weird, awkward around the group. It took a lot to get me to talk, or I just more of an observer.
But you like to be in the mix, though.
Eventually I became into the mix once I got comfortable, right?
Right.
Once I figured out my way in, I was like, okay, now I know how to enter the room. But as a entrepreneur, it was probably more of my friends of hustling and showing me how to do things. I think also my parents as immigrants. You know, the immigrant story you always hear is they came here with nothing, and you see them, build our lives from the hard work and sacrifice that they did. I think you pick up a lot of those elements from them and within the whole culture around us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what were some of your like early interests? Because I know you're known for all these concepts, After Ice Cream, Matt Black Coffee, Trill Burger now. But what were some of the things that interested you as a kid, as a teenager, early adulthood?
I think in my generation growing up, a lot like most kids, we watched. Our parents couldn't take care of us. So, I think the culture now is, we're so present with our kids. We take them to all these activities.
It's called being more emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, right.
That's what it's called.
As my parents, they didn't have the money to do that, right? So they're like, here's the television. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm picking up American culture. I'm learning about pop culture. I'm watching wrestling. I'm watching MTV. I'm picking up all these things and like kind of fusing my personality, learning through all this. And you can see that's evident into all the brands that I've been developing over the years.
Okay. And was Vietnamese like your first language, or was it English? What was?
Yeah, my parents tried to, they spoke Vietnamese to me at home.
Okay.
But when I went out, obviously, it's English, and these days it's really tough for me to try to speak Vietnamese. I can understand it.
Yeah, right.
Speaking back, I'll probably mix it with English here and there to them.
You're like my brother. Like,
Yeah,
can't see. Our Spanish is our first language, but he completely he understands it perfectly, but can't. Sorry, Paul.
Just ordering food, solid. Ordering food is great. Yeah, ordering Vietnamese food, I'm great.
And growing up, did you always because one thing I like to remind people in anything, I truly believe in your net worth is your network, right? So growing up, were you around people who were building businesses or entrepreneurs, or was that a world that you kind of discovered on your own?
We did not. Me and my friends did not know. I did not know what the word entrepreneur was until my 20s, right? Like I think we just knew people. We saw guys with suits or a briefcase, and we saw those as guys as businessmen, right? We saw that's the word we knew, businessmen. But we didn't have any understanding of what that was until we started our first business at 19 years old.
Right. And when did you realize right before we talk about your first business, but when did you realize that maybe the traditional path wasn't for you? Like in terms of going to school and working at a company for 20 years, or 30 years and retiring. When did you realize that is not the life for me?
I already knew early on because I got kicked out of high school after my freshman year. So I spent.
You were quite a kid though.
I went through years. I went through my freshman year of being bullied and gangs around there, and it was just a tough environment for me to focus at the time. I was so in my head, I guess. And once you get kicked out of school, you don't get the choices of colleges. The nice colleges. Right. You go, okay, community college or go to work.
Right.
So I had to go to community college. I did that for about a year and a half. And a year and a half in, I was like, man, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. This is not for me. I'm not great in the classroom. But I'm around a lot of great people that are down to do other things.
Right. And just I was always pretty academic as a kid,
okay.
And I knew I always wanted to be a lawyer growing up. But I always felt along the journey as I progressed more and more into my academics and my career, this can't be the only thing I do. Right? There has to be something else to life other than me going to a law firm. I love my law firm, I love my employer, I love being able to put on a suit, do the transactions that I do. There has to be something more to life, right? Because there has to be something done for you. And sort of you're known for all these food concepts, Trill Burger, but you just mentioned at 19 you had your first business. So what was that first business or the hustle that you got into to sort of jump into the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, my first business was becoming a real estate appraiser. Which
say appraiser.
Yeah,
it's doing appraisals, taking pictures
of people, measuring homes, taking pictures of comp homes that just sold recently.
Yeah, I was throwing you a
And-
couple $100 underneath
Yeah,
that.
to mark things that are there, not that. Yes, we definitely
yes,
did that.
yes.
My
My dad's in real estate. That's the
Yeah.
reason why I know. Yeah, I know about all that.
Yeah, so my best friend hopped in. He dropped out of college first.
Okay.
6 months into it, and I was like, "You're crazy! You're dropping out of school." Like I didn't know anyone dropping out of school like that. Like we're Asian kids. That's like a big no.
Right.
And I was like, "Yeah, he dropped. You're crazy. Like you're gone." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go work for this guy." And I'm like, "He's like, this guy's driving a Range Rover and he has Mercedes and all that." So I was like, well, we didn't know anyone that had cars like that at the time.
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna work for this guy. I'm gonna learn it." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "You should join along with me." And I kind of watched for a little while, and then I guess he came back and my best friend convinced me to like, "Hey, just what do you have to lose? Just try it out, and we get to work together and see what happens." And
So you guys worked under somebody else at first.
to get our hours and license, we worked under someone.
Okay, and then eventually you started your own business.
Yes, once I got my license, I was the out of 4 of us that did it, that all dropped out. I'm the only one that got the license. So everyone used my license.
So everything was under your name.
Yeah, and I was out. And remember, I was not the academic scholar. I was like the worst out of the group. For me to be the only one to pass and actually take the test was pretty crazy.
Okay, and so that first venture, two questions.
Yeah.
Would you say it failed, it succeeded? And the second question is, what did that venture teach you about entrepreneurship and like just starting businesses, and more importantly, getting to business with business partners?
I think timing, you would call that a failure when we came in, right? I think we came at the tail end of things. There's an 07, 08 crash, economic crash that we went through at the time.
Yeah. So you did it. You were going through
Right
this
before that. Right
Okay,
before
so
that.
life
Before
was
that
good.
happened.
Everybody was.
Yeah,
good.
we're making money. We're working together. We have our own little office that we all work in. I think a lot of that stage was building blocks on, are we able to make this work with nothing? I think we made that happen. I think we learned how to understand business lingo, because we're like 18, you're 19-year-old kids. Who's gonna take you seriously doing as a real estate appraiser, right? We don't even own our own homes. This is already crazy as is. So for us, it's just like, hey, how do we come in here with confidence, and show that we belong at the table?
Okay.
And I think that's a lot of the things that we've brought along to the tools of entrepreneurship along the way. Like, you have to understand the game, and you got to learn how to talk to people ordering you. You got to make them believe that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and look, it's tough. Like, I'm in rooms sometimes. I remember when I was like doing stuff for my dad, when they look at me like, you're just a kid.
Yep.
Like, so what's some of the things that you did in order to gain that confidence? Like, what were some of the things that you remember? Like, you're not specifically, but just generally, like, what are some of the things that you can do? Because confidence is, some people are just born confident, and then other people need to build it through experience, through failure, through like whatever they're going through. So what are some of the things that you did to build that confidence?
I think we're just over delivering on all the work that we were given. We were given it whenever we were given a chance, that we would get the file done quickly. We would drive out to wherever it was 3-hour drive, then we would still do it. Most people would be like, I'm not gonna take that file, it's too far.
No.
For us, it's like, hey, we just got to do it. We got to build our name. So whatever it takes, we're down to make it happen.
Okay, cool. And when along the journey of like, you're a serial entrepreneur now, you're like the face of a lot of brands, when did you first think to yourself, you know what, this entrepreneurship road can actually work for me? Or like, when did you start thinking those much more often? Like, at what age, what business behind it that it was, like at what particular moment?
I think in 2014.
Oh, so not that far ago.
That's long. That's 12 years ago. 12 years ago now.
Okay.
13 years ago, or 12 years ago. Yeah. That was the ice cream business. Jumping in from clothing to, we'll get to that after, but jumping into food. Because during my clothing days, I thought if I didn't make that work, that my life was over.
Okay, and just jump into that. So after the real estate business, when did you were like, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to jump into something else? And how did you, what went into the decision of being like, I don't want to do the real estate stuff, and what made you jump into your next venture, which was your next big venture, which was your clothing brand?
2005, my friend was starting his own clothing brand.
Yep.
And then I saw what he was doing was a lot more fun than I was doing, because I was like, hey, you're doing clothes. I love clothes. I was like, hey, in high school, it's my senior's best dress. I was spending all my money on sneakers and clothes.
Oh, you were one of those kids.
I was one of those kids.
right?
Yes. Yeah, so
I always wondered how you guys got your money, because I remember going to school in high school, middle school. Everybody had the latest J's. Obviously, your parents were buying it.
Yeah.
Like I got one pair of sneakers
a
at the
year.
beginning of the year, and I had to make that work.
Yep.
And I would get crushed because going with white Air Force Ones in the winter in New York,
they're done.
you're done by the time the spring comes. People are like clowning you at the table, like, "What are you doing?"
Got dusty,
That
dusty. Air Force Ones on.
and no girls don't want to talk to you. It's the rap. Like it's over. Everybody. And meanwhile, I know people who have fresh ones every month.
Yeah.
Like, so it was ridiculous. But yeah, so you like clothes.
I love clothes. Yeah, and my friend who started the clothing brand, he needed someone to be a model in the photo shoot, so he asked me.
Were you a model,
no, I
inspiring
was
model
like,
at the time?
No, I was not. Never. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. You're crazy. He's like, I'll give you free clothes. I'm like, okay, cool. What do you mean you do? I'll show up.
Right.
So I did the photo shoot with him, and just me hanging out with him a lot more. He's like, hey, can we get an office together? You do your real estate thing on one side, and I'll do my clothing thing on that side.
Okay.
And we ended up sharing an office, and I just kind of helped him as an intern at the time. But you could see my attention. I'm like not even focusing on my real estate appraisal work. I'm just focusing on the clothing thing. And I try to be a partner, and he turned me down.
He turned you down. What was the name of the clothing brand?
It's called a brand called Orisu.
Oh, Risu.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the style like? Streetwear.
Very streetwear. Yeah, streetwear. And that brand did blow up at the time. He ended up blowing up at the time. Yeah.
So you tried to become his partner before blowing up.
Before blowing up, yeah. Because
Okay.
I was in like the early stages of him in the brand, and he didn't think I was ready for it. You know, he didn't think I was ready.
What were some of his early critiques? If you remember, like,
I think he's just looking for a little more business experience in that realm for someone, and it made sense. And obviously that lit a fire in me, right? And I went to my best friend. And I was like, hey, let's get out of this real estate thing, and let's transition over to starting our own brand.
Yeah, and like I don't think people understand that. Like as an entrepreneur, somebody who owns a business, money is something you can go fundraise. But what does that partner bring along with their money, right? So maybe at the time it's not people I'm sure come up to you with ideas all the time and say, hey, I'll throw you money, but it's like okay. I'm not trying to give away my equity just to have a passive investor. Go invest in the S&P 500 if you want something like that, right? Like you need to be active in this business. But it's funny because when I was just trying to get invested in businesses, and I'm still on that journey now, it's like sort of what value do I bring to this business that I'm trying to pitch to try to get some of that equity, because I'm seeing where the puck is going. And sometimes like, not having enough experience, and it's great that you went with your first business partner was like, let's start this clothing brand. And the name of that clothing brand was?
I'm King.
I Am King. Why that? Why that name?
It was short for a name that we called Imaginary Kingdom, and we were all about this bathing ape phase and having nicknames, and everyone in the street was like cutting down nicknames. And Imaginary Kingdom, you cut the word down, you see the word I'm King in there. So that's
What's up. And how'd that do?
Did great. It had a lot of ups and downs.
Okay.
The clothing industry, it's a lot of up and downs, but we got into a lot of the big retailers. So,
Okay.
From global retailers that we were sold in at a time period. So it was we had good and bad moments through it.
No connections?
At the time when we first entered?
No, when you first entered.
No,
connections
I didn't
to
even.
big box retailers.
I thought me interning. I thought I knew the whole world working for my buddy. Right, entered myself and trying to print T-shirts. I was like, okay, we don't know what the hell we're doing.
Okay.
But we sold a lot of people on this dream to join the team, and the talent that's come from that team, even till now, they've bloomed into great things.
Okay. And what's some of the low points of that venture? Like, what
Low
were
points?
you like? Damn, like, sheesh.
When you're in that time frame of our early 20s and hiring people around our age, it's kind of like being back in high school again.
Right.
There's a lot of drama within the industry, within the office. We're all still kids.
Right.
We don't know how to really run a business. We're just watching from the sidelines and seeing what everyone else is doing and trying to like mold it into our own way. But I think we were just really young at the time, so we didn't know how to manage money correctly. If this brand was doing like jackets and denim, we're like, okay, we need to enter jackets and denim, which is a dangerous territory to enter.
Why is that? Why is jackets and denim?
Because you have to do that production overseas, and you can't just print on a T-shirt. You have to go
Right.
when you order denim stuff. You probably have to order from China, India, overseas, and it comes with minimums and understanding production and language barrier and samples that don't come out correctly. It's all these things and it's super expensive.
Yeah, jeans. I heard the margins are not that great unless you upcharge.
Yeah.
Like crazy, right? Like,
Exactly.
and what are some of what was like an early win where you were like, all right, this is actually gonna Like, how did you come in contact with like some of the store
Artists?
retailers? Like
Store retailers?
Yeah, the artists, the store retailers.
Yeah, so-
because I feel like proximity and connection are like the hardest things, right?
Yeah.
Like anybody can bring money into any business, right? But it's a sort of like connections and marketing and
Correct.
I get it out there.
I think a few things we brought on solid sales reps that understand how to hustle and go out there and reach great at cold calling and reaching out to buyers. I think we had people that were eager to drive out from here to Florida, all the way to Florida to hit every single store out there. Us also entering the trade show market, right? Trade show market and trying to display our brand correctly so that we can look, stand out amongst other brands.
And you're the face behind more than 20 concepts over the last several years, right? Like, when did you realize that you weren't just starting businesses, but you were what people are like describe as a serial entrepreneur? Like, when did that click for you? That sort of like, all right, I'm not just somebody I bring concepts and I bring them alive. Like, that's to me a serial entrepreneur. And you do it in multiple industries, disciplines, so that you're someone who can speak to this properly.
I think I understood that value when people saw the success of me entering the food industry. I had a lot of people begin reaching out, trying to throw equity at me and asking me for help. People that have been in business, the restaurant business for 20 plus years, asking me for help. So I was like, oh, that's it. I was like, you don't know that? Like, I thought this was like a normal thing, but they didn't understand it. I was like, well, this is what I did. And they're like, okay, well, they don't understand it. So can we have you come on board and fix this for us?
Right.
So I think along the way, I was like, okay, well, this sounds kind of fun. It's just more of like, retooling things, and I know how to do that. And
what are some of the different? So finishing off on the clothing brand, when did you decide to shutter that off? Like, it's doing well.
Yep.
You're in big box retailers. When did you just say, all right, like, I want to pivot?
So when you do clothing for a time period, as you can see, most of the brands that you pay, like a lot of these cool brands, there's a timeline. Like, you have a shelf life that you're cool for it, and the bigger you get, these big box stores start dictating the way you design and the way you work and how you release things. And I think it got so far away from my original vision that I was like, hey, this isn't fun anymore.
Right.
I didn't picture it like this, and it's really difficult industry to be in.
Now go into that a little bit. So you're in the stores. Do they have creative control over your designs? Like,
if you're working with a big box store, they're testing designs, right? They go, hey, we need a design like this to fill the shelf. Like, we're looking for these types of designs, and we need these types of colorways. And sometimes you're like, hey, I don't know if that makes sense to my brand, but since they're ordering hundreds and thousands of pieces, that we don't really have much of a choice because we need to keep the lights on and pay staff. So we're like, all right, I guess we'll design this.
okay.
Yeah.
And so so you decided to get out. Like, how did you exit from that? You were just told your partners, I'm out of here. Give me cash me out. Like, I'm good. Like,
no, the reason why we exited was I was a year into the ice cream business after that already.
yes.
And that brand was taking off more than I could ever imagine. And I was like, okay, I gotta go. We gotta go this way. We don't have much of a choice now. Okay. Someone offered to buy the brand, and we're like, look, we got egg. We gotta make the sale and focus on ice cream.
Okay. And before we jump into the ice cream, how do ideas usually come to you? Because I'm always interested to hear from like entrepreneurs such as yourself or other successful business persons. Like, how do, like, are you just like laying down and you're just like looking up at the sky, doing whatever leisurely you like to do, drinking a matcha or a tea, whatever you're into, and like, oh, I have this great idea. Let me write it on a napkin.
Yeah.
Like, how does it come to you usually?
The ideas come from everywhere. If I'm listening to a song, if I'm traveling, or I'm eating somewhere, I'm visiting an experience, or talking to friends of a conversation, I think, it comes from, sometimes it comes from happiness. Sometimes ideas come from pain. Sometimes they come from survival mode. I just take all the energy from each part of it, and sometimes spark something insane. Sometimes the ideas are dumb, but as long as the ideas are flowing, that's when you feel alive. I feel the most alive.
And when can you tell that an idea is worth pursuing? Worth not just the ideation and the conversations, but like, let me put real dollars behind this now to see where this can go.
If I can't sleep at night and I keep thinking about it, and I'm not putting the idea to paper, that's when I know I have to pursue it. And sometimes I feel like if it's within reach, like I have whether I have a location ready to go or I have a contact that I can reach out to make things happen. I think if those things were within reach, then you could see my ideas flowing and me pushing harder for it to make it happen.
Got it. And just a quick little lightning right now. What's an idea that you had that you were like, this is for sure gonna work, and it didn't do as well as you thought it would? And what's an idea where you, not that I think any, not that you ever think any of your ideas are garbage or anything like that, but ones you're like, I don't know, but I'm gonna try it anyway. But it actually did as well as it could, as it did, and you were really surprised by its performance.
In Orange County, there's one for low and high, right? So one low that didn't work, that I thought was the surefire one. I had this burger concept before Trill Burgers, and I was already doing a variation of smash burger already before it got big, and I was offering the price point at like near In-N-Out prices, and it did, and I thought it was gonna be. I was like, this is genius. It's gonna work, right? And it fell flat on its face.
Why do you think?
I think the area wasn't ready for it, right? They didn't get it.
You were too ahead of its time.
Yeah, I was way too. I was like, they don't get it. This is, and now I just messed up the entire business.
And what was the low that went high?
Low that went high. So we had we had this donut concept that was terrible already, and I went off for a trip. I came back and my partners added poke on the menu, and I was like, we're selling poke and donuts. This is crazy. I was pissed. I was like, what are you guys doing? And I was like, fine, if we're gonna do poke, we're gonna X the donuts, and we're gonna do things my way, right? I was like, I don't want to do poke, but if I have to do it, I'm gonna do something. So I came up with this sushi donut idea just off of looking around.
Sushi donut?
Yeah, so it looks like it's just like really, really eye-catching, camera-friendly, and we put that thing out, and man, when you talk about things that go viral, that thing went insane. I did videos, dropped 2 weeks, got 78 million views. I got people banging on the door at like 7 a.m. trying to eat sushi at 7 a.m, right? You know how crazy that sounds?
They feel like they're in Japan right now,
yeah,
at the fish market. Like,
so,
you know what I mean?
That's what happened with that, and that blew up, and that was pretty crazy to watch at the time.
Okay. Yeah. And following on that, how important has intuition been in your decision making?
I think it's everything.
Just trusting you're like, I can't explain. You know when you're like, I can't explain it, but I gotta trust my gut on this one. How important has that feeling been in your decision making?
I think it's everything. It's for sure. It's everything. Following gut instinct is important because you're following my true calling on what decisions I make are the right and wrong decisions. I recently went through a similar issue where I had a fallout and I exited a project, and it's because I followed my gut intuition. And I think it's 4 years later, and they called me back needing help. And this is a project I said I do not want anything to do with, and they called me back needing help, and I was like, that's it, guys. I'm glad I followed the gut because everything that I said was gonna go wrong, it all went wrong, and now they're knocking on my door begging.
Did you express what you thought it was gonna go wrong, or was it?
Yeah, I let them know from day one, and that's why they're calling, because they're like, damn, he was right.
Do you think entrepreneurs are born or built, or do you think it's like a little combination?
I think a combination, right? Yeah, you have to, and I think entrepreneurs, you gotta go through it. I think you gotta feel what rock bottom feels like to really appreciate the little nuances of what works.
And what was rock bottom for you in your entrepreneur? And then we'll go back into the after's ice cream. But like, I feel like we have to what does rock bottom looked like to you?
I think I've had a multiple rock bottom moments throughout the career, but I think I can talk during the clothing phase. I was really unhappy. Like I talked about earlier, the stores were dictating with the way you design. I think our sales were dipping. We weren't doing things right anymore. I just felt like the brand wasn't mine anymore. And at that time, we brought in a business life coach, and kind of gave me some advice on pretty much learning why I did things in the first place, right? Like really going back to my roots. And once I felt like that, I was like, okay. I just remember walking into the design room, pretty much ripping the whole design wall and going, we're starting from scratch.
Wow. Yeah. And what was a question I have for you? Because I think your first business owner was one of your friends that you mentioned, right? Somebody who you're still close to this day.
They're my best friend, yeah.
How is it important? Because I've heard from business people, you don't have to like the person that you're in business with to make money. Yeah. But obviously, it's a better ride when it's your best friend, right? But like, how have you managed that relationship? Because I'm sure there's been some contentious moments between you and your best friend. Maybe things flare up. There's tension in the room. But how do you manage the sort of like putting aside that he's your friend and putting in the forefront that we're business partners and we have to talk about the business here?
Yeah. So over the years, I've had business partners who were friends, and some are still my best friends to this day, and some I could never sit in the same room with ever again. But speaking from my first business partner till now, that's my best friend, right? And we're still business partners till this day. I think for us is understanding how we fill each other's gaps. He doesn't have social media. He doesn't like to be in front of the scenes. He hates it, right? So you can't even find him. We call him the unicorn. You can't
My
find
best
the guy.
friend's the same way.
Yeah.
I was just talking to him earlier today. He's like, he likes to be a ghost.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I don't want to be found on social media.
Yep. He's fine with that. He doesn't want to dig into any of that stuff. He's like, you're good at this part. You focus on this. He likes to be behind the scenes. I don't like dealing with certain things like legal and numbers and all that. I was like, hey, you go handle.
That's
You're
me.
better at that. You're like, that's how you go take care of that.
That's me.
Yep.
But so you mentioned, but some people were your friends, and now you can't sit in the same room as them, right? Not getting into specifics, just general concepts and some questions that I have. Do you think it's because you're in these businesses, right? And I'm going to assume that all these people are self-made, and when you start throwing money into the equation and dollars that they've never in amounts they've never seen before, do you think that changes the way they pursue the partnership? Or like, what's been some of the major downfalls that you've experienced in these partnerships? Has it been solely because of money, or is it truly because there's just differences in ideation?
I think it's money is money for people that never, like you said, that have never seen it. Was this first time seeing money? Then yeah, you see a lot of things like really come out, and you're like, okay, this is like this is not what we discussed in the beginning. It's shifting your mindset now from what our original vision was, and that usually kills a lot of it, right? With the partnerships, I think ego's another thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm pretty front facing to a lot of this, so some people can't handle that, and
That you're the face of this,
or I become even if I don't choose to become the face, right? I'm just.
But what? But if I'm a business partner and I'm sure you guys are cut in your allocations, whatever it may be. Let's just assume equal, right? You're the one who has the more pressure, because if you're the face of it, you have to do things. You have to do more things for the same amount of cut for the cut of the same cut of the equity at the end of the day. You don't get any extra by being the face of it. So I'm just wondering, that's much more of an MB or ego thing, right? Because they want, like, why does Andy get to be the face?
Why is everyone congratulating Andy and stuff like that? And I'm like, hey, I'm just doing my job. It's just you want the business to blow up. These are the things it takes to blow up, and I just happen to get the attention for it. That's not what I'm asking for.
I would just tap you on the knee. Yo, Andy, do your thing, but make sure that check comes at the end of the month, right? Like it's like
exactly.
Yeah, but it's a slippery slope. Yeah. It's a slippery slope. I mean, what are some of the advice you would give to people in terms of like who they decide to partner with? What are some of the characteristics that you should have in a partnership? And this would be helpful for me because me and Mike, my co-host, are figuring it out. Like, I get along with Mike. I love Mike. Yeah. And like you said, I'm much more on the legal end. I'm much more technical. He doesn't give a hell about any of that stuff, which is fine. So I think we're like a good yin and yang, but that was completely lucky because I really didn't know Mike that well before we started the podcast, and we flourished into a good business partnership and a genuine friendship because of that. But that's not the case you should. I don't recommend anybody to go into business with somebody they barely know, right? Like, so I'm just curious to hear from you.
Yeah.
What are some of the characteristics that you look for when you're trying to get into a partnership?
I think I look for someone that's best in class with what they're doing, right? At the top of their game, because I want to align myself with the best possible, or people that are better than me in their skill set, what they're working to fill the gaps. I think I've had a lot of issues with people. The issues that I've had with certain people is that, let's say food, for example, they come in, but they don't care about the quality of the food. So I'm already like, hey, they're okay with mediocre, and that's a problem. Because now it's gonna show throughout the whole brand, and everyone sees through that stuff.
Yeah. Every time you stamp something that has your name on it, it cannot be mediocre if it goes out there. It can't. Okay, so media, like just the way they go about their process, like best in class. What about like intangibles in terms of their personality traits? Like, is there anything that you look for in particular, or is that dictated by the type of venture you're going into?
Transparency, I think, is always a big thing. Laying everything on the line. Someone that's always on top of it, great with updates, filling in information. Even as busy as I am, I think for myself, I'm already great at updating the team. Like, hey, these are the things that I need done. These are the things I'm looking for. If I'm not going to be around, you guys know exact dates I'm gone.
Right.
I think that I expect the same from the people that I work with.
All right, cool. And so one of the brands that put you on the map was Afters Ice Cream. You mentioned it earlier in the interview. How did Afters come about? Like, you went from real estate to clothing, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff in between, and then you went into the ice cream business, which is food
Yeah.
technically, right? So I'm just very curious to hear how did you end up in
Yeah.
the ice cream and food industry.
Yeah. So in the streetwear era that I was in, if you didn't have a blog and you weren't writing and sharing stories,
Like a
you
Tumblr
weren't
or something like that.
you weren't a brand, right? At
right,
the
right,
time.
right, right.
So I had to become a photographer, a storyteller. I had to do all these things, right? That weren't initially in the skill set that I had. So now I'm just documenting pretty much almost everything that the team was doing, and a popular topic became what we were eating for lunch,
Right. Yeah.
right? So people were like, "Oh wow, that place that you recommended." Like I'll get emails like, "That place was amazing. Can you send me a list for this place and this?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess I have a thing for discovering good food places." I'm not a chef. I never worked in food a day in my life, but I understand what I like to eat and what I think tastes good.
Right.
And along the way, I just kept starting. If I had a food concept, what would I do? What would those flavors look like? What would the vibe be? And ice cream just became one of the things that got stuck in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you expect it to become like the cultural phenomenon that it did? Like, did you what was your like in that time? What was like your best guess estimate? Like, what was your expectation for the brand versus what it actually became?
I think we saw an ice cream store at the time that was doing like liquid nitrogen, and they got really. That was like around the time when we were getting like a few months from opening, and we just saw that they were getting a lot of traction, and people were lining up like crazy. So we're like, oh wow, this could be. I think we could do something really cool for the local area, like a cool place to hang out at night. But I don't think we knew it was gonna be as insane as it was. I didn't. We were on news. We were filming with news media every day for like 3 months straight, and I was like, "What is going on right now?"
Right.
The lines are getting crazier. The police is showing up, trying to shut us down all the time. Like we were the talk. We were the talk of the town.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And a question that I have: so when you ride this wave, you go viral. This is like you're a cultural phenomenon now. As an entrepreneur, when you finally are on that wave, how do you take advantage? Well, how do you best take advantage of being on a wave? Because the wave is not forever, right? What do you usually do, and how do you take advantage of those moments?
I think when it's on top of those moments, we're like, how do we enhance things? How do we think about scaling? Also thinking about tightening up our core product, like making sure we master our core thing. Because if we don't master the core, then people might think we're just a novelty product. Because at the time, people were coming in for our Milky Bun, right, which is the ice cream donut, right? But over time, people are gonna they're gonna get over that donut part, right? And your ice cream still had to be incredible.
Yeah. So the Milky Bun did become iconic. Like, how did that idea come about? Like, were you just
Yeah.
like at the crib one day and like like I was like, oh, we need a Milky Bun. Like, how did that idea actually come together? And who takes credit for it?
That time period, there were a lot of food mashups, which obviously I became known as that mashup item.
Yeah.
But the New York was killing it on the mashup items right at that time. You had the cronut, right, from the Dominique Ansel Bakery, and the donut. That cronut thing became a phenomenon at the time.
Yeah, the Corona.
And we're like, oh wow, that's a cool idea. And then another guy that actually came from Orange County that moved to New York, he launched an item called the ramen burger.
The ramen burger.
Yeah, so he made ramen as the buns.
As the buns, yeah.
And then he created a burger, and that thing blew up. And we were like right around the time period, and no one in California was doing mashup food like that. And we were trying a bunch of different things. We were trying to do like ice cream waffle sandwiches, like different flavors.
Oh, but that didn't do well.
We just weren't good at executing. We had all these waffle machines we were testing, and then I think we came across this like equipment, and the guy put bread in it, and we're like, okay, that's tastes okay. We like the idea of it. So then we just kind of got this idea of like, hey, let's try donuts. Take the jelly out of this jelly donut and stuff the ice cream in, and let's test it out. We tested it. We're like, all right, this is the one.
Okay. And what did Afters sort of teach you about like branding and culture? Like, what did it, because I feel like that was the thing that put you on the map, like really on the map in the food industry. Like, what did it really teach you about those two items that I just mentioned?
It's Afters taught me adding a touch of culture could really change things. It could really make things insane, right? Because a lot of food brands out there, you just do regular restaurants, but I think we added this streetwear culture hip hop mixed taste into it,
Right.
and people really resonated with that, and that's something that they really wanted, they were looking for, and I think that's why it really took off.
And remember, like you just mentioned, the police coming to shut you down and all that, the lines outside the door. When you saw that line outside, and what were you thinking to yourself? Like, did you realize, like, oh my God, what the hell did I just create? Like, this is actually good. Like, what were some of the early thoughts that you had to yourself when you were seeing all this like virality and people getting behind the brand and coming in for the products that you actually create? Like, that must be sort of gratifying to be like, wow, like something I took from my head is out here and people are like resonating with it.
It moves when you're in that moment, and we were there looking at the lines every day. A lot of times I just stand there, I'm like, is this real? Like, is this really happening right now? And it was there every day, but it felt like Groundhog's Day for a while, because every day it was like that, and I was like, what is going on? Like, what am I living in right now? And every store we opened, the same thing would happen, right? Every location, and I'm like, and we're really onto something now. This is not normal, and most people don't get to experience this.
Yeah. So you mentioned before, so Food Network, they call you the mashup king of the food industry, right? Like, where does that creative instinct come from you? Like, I know that you watched a lot of TV when you were younger, and you described the sort of the streetwear branding, but like, I feel like with food, it's a little different in terms of what the creativity is like, or maybe you can correct me, but it's the same thing, just applying it to a different discipline. But I'm just curious to hear, like, where for you does the creativity come from, and when are you in your best flow state?
It literally comes from everywhere. I have this thing where I don't like to eat at the same places twice. I'm always trying to look for, or just I don't like to do the same thing. I like to experience different things almost every day. Every day is almost like a different adventure for me,
Wow.
right? I think because I'm always looking for something that will like shock me or surprise me.
So you
and
don't
I'm
go to the
willing
same restaurant twice?
I will these days more often. I have kids and wife, so I have to go for habit. But when I'm on my own, I'm usually out discovering, right? Because I'm okay with having a bad meal, bad experience to try something in order to try something new.
Right.
Just to discover that little thing that'll just get me going crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about an idea, what usually comes first, the product or the experience you're trying to create?
Just depends. It just depends, right?
Okay.
It just depends on the idea, the flow state of ideas that I'm going through.
Yeah. And look, we're in 2026, right? And it's information overload. We have social media on my laptop, on my phone, everywhere you go. How do you combine ideas? Like, how do you find combinations of ideas that people haven't thought of? Because I've tried to think of things, and I'm just like, oh, there's no way that it's gonna be not. And then you come to find out it's out there already. So, how frustrating is it sometimes? I'm sure you've had a thought, and you're like, I have to research this, and you find out like, damn, this is already
been done.
It's already been done.
I think I'm always finding like a little nuance, like even tiny bit. Like if they say like Virgil Abloh, he always talks about that 3% rule of like tweaking something just a little bit to make it your own.
Yep.
And that 3% could be a big world of difference. And I think, I've taken that and applied it to a lot of what I've learned too. I was like,
it's like with clothing brands nowadays, right? Like, there's always this. It's the same shape, but it's like subtle nuances from brand to brand. Like, but it's like the same trend in terms of like what's in for the season, and sort of. You mentioned before what you needed to do in order to pursue an idea, right? Like, if it's something that you can't sleep, and you're like, I need to do this. But when do you know that? When do you feel like an idea has real potential?
I think an idea has real potential is when everyone buys into it, right? Not just me buying into it anymore. Because like sometimes I have an idea in my head for years, and I try to put it on paper and it might not, and sometimes it might not work, or the people are not ready for it, or I don't have the right team for it. Okay. If I can find the right operators, right location, sometimes that's when the idea will come back up again, and then that's when we really go at it.
Do you have like a trusted team of confidants that you go to with the same idea? Like, do you like you're like, I have this idea. What do you guys think about it? And depending on what they say, not that it will ultimately decide your ultimate decision. They're the ones who you have that A team of people that you go to with ideas.
Of course, I have my best friend, obviously, who I go through a lot of ideas.
Right.
I have a lot of ideas that I talk to the Trill team, because I think we have some of the best people on board over there. Like, we have some of the best chefs on board over there. I think that just them understanding this industry of where we're trying to do, I think they get how to execute the product
Right.
correctly.
Okay, cool. And you also experimented with like other types of projects like Bored and Hungry, right?
Yeah.
Like what you need to talk to me about what became behind that project because
Yeah.
it's a little different than all the other stuff we had just talked about.
Yeah.
So I want you to like actually walk through from
Okay.
like A to Z. Like where were you when you thought about
Yep,
this?
yep.
How the hell did you come up with the name?
Okay.
And what were you trying to do with that idea?
Yeah, so Bored and Hungry, this is the crazy world of NFTs at the time, right? And it was this crazy phase of, at first when people were talking to me about NFTs, it was like in one ear and out the other,
Oh yeah,
right?
there was
And I was like, hey, it's all over the place. Everyone's talking about it, but I'm working on a bunch of other things, so whatever. And I just had a random conversation with one of my friends in the digital. He's like in the digital industry that had nothing to do with NFTs, right? And I guess something he said just clicked, and I was like, now I understand this NFT thing, right? And I understand, but I'm not understanding it in the way that people explain to me. I find it understand it in how it could be useful for what I want to do with it.
Right.
I started understanding IP use. I was like, oh, you control this IP, and I work with a lot of obviously IPs on it. All the big brands out there, and I'm like, if you buy this thing, you own this IP. I was like, oh, so I was like, if everyone's doing that, why don't we just buy this NFT and build a brand out of it?
Right.
So we bought this Bored Ape Yacht Club picture,
Yeah.
and we
Oh
spent,
my god, I was trying to get on it.
yeah.
I got by the time I was hip to that train, it was too expensive, or it was not easily accessible anymore.
It was not. And
Yeah.
For us, we spent a lot of money. We spent $263,000 on this
For the
picture, the NFT picture.
And those are still the ones that are NFTs are largely dead. And I think
Yeah, that one's
but
like
that one's still there's still some that are still like the cyberpunks.
Yeah,
right?
those still have value. Yeah, Cyberpunk still has value. Pudgy Penguins, Bored Apes still have value, just not the same value as it did before.
You bought it at the high.
we paid. Yeah, we bought it at the high for. But our thing was, I think at that time was just more of an experiment for me.
Right.
We were only supposed to buy that NFT, launch this brand, and have it up for 3 months. Just some more of an just ideas flowing. We tried it out for three.
Okay.
It was only supposed to be open for 3 months, and then I started getting. Once it opened, it just became it became insane. My name was everywhere, whether it was good or bad at the time. Whether you love NFT, you hate NFTs, my name was
I
everywhere.
remember seeing your name during that time.
Yeah.
I've never met who the hell is this? I was like, then I was like, oh, this guy's behind all these other ideas. It must mean something, right? Like,
And I was getting a lot of people were outreaching to me. It opened a lot of different doors for myself. At 3 months, everyone was like, let's go longer. I was like, okay. And so we ended up going longer, and it kind of became a thing. And we stuck around. We stuck it with it for a year and a half, and then a group in Korea actually bought the brand.
They bought the brand.
Yeah.
All right. And what were you actually trying to explore and test with that concept? Like, what were some of your original intentions with the idea?
I was just showing people what you can do with what you can do with IP, like what are the functions of what you can do with IP, the functions of the NFT and the value that it can have. So it's just a lot of the use case scenarios, people being able to pay with crypto. I was just trying to experiment and try something like out of my comfort zone.
Okay. And what do you think that experience taught you about innovation and taking risks? Already on top of the stuff that you were already doing, but this was a completely different sort of pivot that you had entered into.
It taught me that it can open a lot of different doors, and there's a lot of other realms I could try out with different things in the future. It just made me more comfortable with being more risky on these things.
Right.
Because I had no idea what the output was, and I had no idea it was going to be the way it was. I just knew, hey, this is a cool thing. Everyone's talking about it right now. I think it's going to be cool. I was like, we have this location. Let's just use it for now, and we'll just, once it's done, it's done. But
Right.
yeah,
That's cool. All right. So we've spoken about real estate. You've done clothing brands. Now you did ice cream. You did a whole bunch of other stuff. You got into NFTs. But I feel like the one we have to talk about is your current role as CEO of Trill Burger, right? Like, it was named the best burger by Good Morning America, and you co-founded that along with Bun B. And shout out to Bun, who was on the platform last season. He had nothing but good things to say about you. But how did that partnership come about, like between you and Bun? Because he's in Texas, you had told me off camera that you were born and raised in SoCal.
It's
So
still here. I'm not
I wanna know how that partnership came about and
Yeah.
just talk about just to talk about it.
Yeah, so I'm co-CEO. Me and Bun are co-CEO.
Oh, co-CEO.
So
Okay.
we work together. We work hand in hand as CEOs on this on Trill Burgers along with the rest of our team. But
Okay.
yes, I initially I had a chicken store in Houston, which I partnered with this family, and
Okay.
we opened the store
Like fried chicken?
like chicken over rice. It was like
Okay.
this like Filipino type of fusion concept that
Okay.
that we worked on over there, and then we opened a month and a half before the pandemic shutdown happened. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And but Bun actually showed up for friends and family at that event too. But we opened, and once the shutdown happened, I couldn't fly to Texas for a long time. My wife we were having a kid, and she's like, "You're not going. There's no way you're going to Texas. Like, you're not bringing home this COVID thing home." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm stuck at home then."
And there was not a shutdown in Texas, as you know.
Yeah.
I was in Houston for that 1
Were
year
you?
during the yeah. Before I went to the UAE, I was in London,
Okay.
in Europe, came to Houston for a year, got stuck there for the
Yeah.
pandemic, and then eventually went to the UAE. But I can tell you right now, a little less lax
Yeah.
with their restrictions than
Yep.
Texas. So your wife was probably
Yeah.
doing it for the best.
Yeah, for sure. So I was not going there for a year, but prior to that, even just Bun, I met Bun during my clothing days in the clothing industry,
Oh,
my
that's
clothing
even
brand.
way
I met him
before
at
that.
I met him at a trade show in Vegas,
Wow.
and he came by my booth, and they brought him over, and like he put on my I'm King hat, and he wore it the rest of the show,
Oh, that's
the
what's
whole
up.
show. So I still have photos. I always have those photos that day, and I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool
Mhm.
for a hip hop star to come and do that and just wear it the whole show for no reason. He doesn't even know your brand, but he's rocking it the whole time. So I think from that, years later, and then the chicken store, I didn't visit for like a year and a half, over a year, and I finally got there. When I got to the store, I was like, the store is dead. Like, no one's here. What are you guys doing?
Right.
They're like, no, they didn't really have an answer. They weren't really doing anything. So I was like, okay, well, you guys, we could turn this into like a ghost kitchen and develop other brands outside of it while the store's slow, and just produce other items out this thing. And in my head, I was like, man, if I were to do it, what would I do? And I was like, well, smash burgers, people are doing it in California. I've done it before. I don't see anyone doing it here in Texas. Texas is a meat and potatoes thing. This is bun meat, like not much it's like very simple. And I was like, if I were to do this, I want to hit a Bun B for this. I
Like
think
literally that was
in my head. Yeah, I was like, I gotta hit a Bun B because he's like people love
He is
him in
Texas.
Houston. He is,
He's
he's like the
Texas.
mayor. He's like the unofficial mayor of Houston. That's how I see it as. I'll say, hey, Bun's part of this. This could work. We gotta hit him up. Let's see what happens.
Mhm.
And then our partner Nick and his PR guy, I was like, hey Nick, can you ask Bun if he's down to try this out? So Bun's like, put the meeting together. I was like, all right, I'll fly to Houston. We'll go do a taste testing for him. And we did taste testing. He's like, wow, he didn't know what to expect.
Oh yeah, he talked about it a little bit on
Yeah.
our episode. He doesn't like pickles. He hates like some
Onions,
of the ingredients.
onions. He doesn't like onions.
He doesn't like onions.
Doesn't like
And he was like, he went back to his wife that day. He was like, oh my god, I just tasted the same burger. And his wife asked him, what's in the burger? And he mentioned onions. She's like, there's no way you ate a burger with onions
Yeah.
in it. And I think that's when he said like, I have to like
Pursue
pursue
it.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, so he said it was not just the best burger he's ever had; it's one of the best things he's ever eaten, right? And
It was actually pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah. When we went after the recording, it was. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, oh, I've had plenty of burgers. So I was like, oh, this is a good burger.
Yeah, we
It's a really good burger.
try our best.
Yeah. So when did the Trill Burger start forming? So you hassled him for a meeting. The meeting finally happened.
He approved
loved
the meeting.
burger.
Yeah, so we worked on. I was like, all right, I pitched him. I was like, hey, we're gonna. What do you think about Trill Burger? Using the name Trill Burgers, and he's like, okay, we can. I'm okay with that. And just working down the menu ideas. I think we met in late June.
Mhm.
I didn't think we were gonna pop up until like November, and he's like, "There's an event next month. Well, I want to premiere it there." I was like, "That's like a few weeks away." So I'm like, "All right." So they go premiere at the event. It became the talk of the like.
How did you guys do it? You just got a couple burgers. Got
It
some
was like
ranch-
it was a foodie event that Bun was hosting, and he wanted to showcase and give out the burgers there.
Right.
And so I guess obviously all the media news caught of it, and it just went crazy. So we had to do an official pop up at the chicken store out there. That's where our first pop up started happening.
And what do you think makes Trill Burger as a concept different from the burger brands? Just hearing it from your perspective, like, because you did say nobody's really doing smash burgers in Texas,
Yeah.
but like as a concept, because you guys are not just trying to be in Texas, you
Yeah.
guys are eventually want to be nationwide, and you guys are already in different locations already. So what are some of the things that you think separates the burger brand from other burgers?
I think Bun says it best is we give the culture comes with the brand.
Yeah.
Right? He brings you buy the burger, but the culture's free comes along with it.
Right.
But also I think a lot of people would think the burger was a novelty burger, right? Because they're like, it's a hip hop guy, it's a hip hop burger. But we had some of the best chefs come in and tweak it and make it the best possible what we could put out at the time.
Right.
And I think us winning Good Morning America really legitimized it, and they're like, "Oh wow, it's not just a hip hop burger; it's a legitimate burger."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Like, what was the run up like? Well, like, did you get the call from Good Morning America saying you're in the finalists? Did you guys have to like enter an application? How does that stuff go about? Like, I'm just so curious.
So it's really, everyone thinks like, "Hey, they called Bun and we automatically got on that was not what happened, right?" So luckily, our partner Nick, he happens to be a PR guy, and Good Morning America is reaching out to him. Pretty much to see if he has any clients to do the show. We didn't have a store at the time.
It was just
We just were doing pop-ups at the time, and he's like, "Hey, what do you guys think about having my brand with Bun B on competing for Houston, in Houston?" And they said that's a good idea. Let's try it out. But it was not a thing where they knew already. They didn't know. I didn't know. I thought we were going to cook in Houston just to cook for the hosts.
right.
I didn't know we were competing. If I knew we were competing, it would probably been a different conversation. I'm like, I don't know if we should compete, guys. I don't think it's a good idea. And then I found out we won. We ended up winning Houston. The guys were like, "Hey, we won Houston." I was like, "Won? What are you talking about? Won what?" They go, "We won Best Burger in Houston on Good Morning America. We competed." I was like, "What are you talking about?" They go, "Okay, yeah, now we have to fly. We're gonna fly over to New York to compete for Best Burger in America." I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll fly out too. So I'll meet you guys over there." So I'm just there watching it live, and I have no idea what's going on or happening. And 3 out of the 4 votes were Trill Burgers as the competition. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy right now. And Buns has tears coming down, and I was like, what is happening?
A lot of hard work, man. A lot of hard work. And Bun, hip hop legend.
Yep.
People know who he is. What is it like working with him? Like, what did you learn anything extra? Like, it's on top of entrepreneurship, like being in such close proximity with such a legend.
I think Bun is so intelligent. He's so intelligent.
Right.
Like his subject matter across so many things. He has so much knowledge. The way he carries himself, the way he speaks on camera, the way he's. I think when people talk about like celebrities and stuff trying to start a business, I can see why it works so well with Bun over most people. It's got Bun. During our first pop-up, what I noticed already is like, hey, he's picking up the trash. He's greeting everyone. He's passing out waters. He's doing whatever he needs to do. He's hyping up the team. He's in the kitchen, like congratulating, seeing everyone who needs help. And most people aren't willing to do that. They'll probably come in for an hour, take photos, and they're leaving. But he stays there.
Yeah, he likes to be boots on the ground because he likes to be involved,
Yep,
right? That's
absolutely.
how you. I mean, eventually, when your business gets too big, you need to delegate certain things. But I just think at the level, from what I understood from our conversations, he wants to be involved with the process. That's how he has the culture infused, right? Because he's such a name state, just not just in the name in the state of Texas, but just in music in general. So I think those are some of the things that that really resonate with people when they do have Trill Burgers.
Yeah.
And speaking about it, like you as a co-CEO, what do you kind of see in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think next 5 to 10 years for our brand, for us,
For
Trill.
sure. Yeah.
I think as we scale, we know there's a lot of eyes on the brand, so we're trying to be as careful as possible with how we grow. We don't want to grow too fast, but we also don't want to miss the boat.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that we can streamline things and keep consistent quality. We want to provide opportunities for staff that's grown within us. We want to grow people to grow from within. And I think we just want to continue something that we have that's been special for the last 5 years already.
Right. And I think we touched upon this in our conversation. Like entrepreneurship has a lot of highs and lows,
Yep.
right? And it does come with its setbacks. So, two-part question: what is the biggest emotional setback you've ever taken as an entrepreneur, and what is the biggest financial setback you've ever taken as an entrepreneur?
The biggest ones, I would say, my advice is try to keep it out of the courtroom.
Yeah, don't.
Try to keep things out of the courtroom because it can get really expensive and get really nasty. And even if you think or know that you're right, what goes in the courtroom could be skewed as completely something else, right? And I learned that within the last 2 years. And the attorneys, like they always say, the attorneys always win, right? That's that game, and it gets really nasty. And emotion, that being in a courtroom where you emotionally break you, really like take a toll on you. And I've never been through that before. For the past 20 years, luckily I didn't have to go to the courtroom. The first time going through, I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did that moment teach you there, aside from it sucks?
Teach you that document everything, have the right paperwork put in place, have all your everything put on paper, everything that you talk about, make sure you put on paper what you look for, what you expectations.
Yeah.
Just put it down on, make sure it's all down paper.
Yeah, I agree. I think you should always put everything in. I mean, I'm a lawyer, so I'm always gonna say this, but it's like you should always have everything in writing. Like you have no idea how many handshake agreements go so awry very quickly, and it's always because when money starts flowing, it's always when dollars start flowing in, people start having dementia when it comes to like the agreement that they had. Like, oh no, hold on, it's 40-60, no, it's 55-30, 45, whatever it may be. So yeah, like just document everything, and like I'm sorry you had to go through that.
You got to. I guess you got to go
through it. And okay, so that's the emotional setback. What's been the biggest financial L you've ever taken? If you could talk about not just ballpark figures.
Financial L's that we've taken, a big one I think during clothing industry that we've taken is that big 7-figure orders that don't come, that you put in the order and they don't come in.
Wait, what do you mean?
Order your manufacturer pretty much doesn't send your stuff over.
But you have like a back.
POs.
You have an order you have to fulfill with a retailer.
POs that are waiting to go out, and you lose a lot of money that don't come in.
Can you sue them for that?
You can try to.
Oh yeah, good luck. They're like in an
yeah.
oversight. Yeah, good luck trying to sue somebody in the foreign jurisdiction.
And they don't come through. Or I think sometimes we've done wrong buttons or zippers, and they cancel the whole order, and I'm like, damn, I'm sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars with this messed up jacket right now.
And what do you do with that? What do you do with?
Had to liquidate her for like pennies on the dollar.
To like other like second.
Yeah, offload the guys the brands that or companies that will offload it for like pennies.
What happened to the guys who sell stuff off the back of the truck?
I would have, if they were around, I would have let them sell it too.
Yeah. And how do you personally? I think this is a great transition to this question. How do you personally deal with those failures or when things don't go according to plan? Like what is the mindset that you would give to other entrepreneurs that you should have, or at least things that work for you for you to get past those moments?
I think as my thing even today is I always feel like my best work is ahead of me. So I'm always trying to look forward. And I try to navigate that these pain moments are just temporary moments as long as I take it as lessons. Right. And I don't take it as a loss. I'm like, hey, if I make sure in my head just telling myself like, hey, this is a lesson, make sure you're not going to do this again, and just move forward from it.
All right. Yeah. So transitioning away from the other side of, you're not just a serial entrepreneur, you're also a family man, right? You're a father, and you've spoken about personal growth on other platforms, right? Like what does becoming a dad, and shout out to your daughter, by the way, whose happy birthday today as of the time of this recording. What has that taught you about life and business?
Just like how to mitigate risk a lot better. As a parent, you have to.
Now you have another mouth.
I can't put everything on the line anymore. Like, in my 20s and early 30s, I was like, I'm down to go broke again and do this all over again. I'm ready to risk it all. I think as a father, I just made a lot better decisions, and I tell most of me and a group of my friends, we all feel that as we became fathers, we ended up as we are making better decisions, we made a lot more money anyways than when we did before.
Right.
I was like, hey, we were willing to risk more, but we were losing a lot. But this time, where I was like, hey, our decision making got a lot tighter, and we end up making tenfolds compared to what we made before.
Right, exactly. And I guess you would say that what are some of the, aside from just the risk tolerance that you had as a early young 20s, no family, no daughter, no children, risking it all.
Mhm.
What are some of the other changes that have been implemented in sort of your decision making now that you do have a family?
Just time management, right? I can't, you just don't have the time to work 24/7. So you just have to work a lot smarter, right?
Right.
You have to utilize different tools or hiring. I was so against, I didn't want to have an assistant to help my work, but now I have to. I was like, I have no choice. I have to lean on someone to help get these tasks done, or nothing's going to get finished because I can't do it all anymore.
And I guess, like, aside from the businesses that you have built,
Yeah.
which have been massive throughout all these different industries, like, I always ask entrepreneurs and very successful business people, like, what is the legacy you're trying to leave behind? Like, how do you want to be remembered when you're like ready to hang it up? Be like, I'm going to go off in an island somewhere and just like, I'm done with this. Like, I want to enjoy my life in whatever other phase. But I feel like you'll never shut down, shut out. Like, how do you want to be remembered?
I'm not too worried these days about being remembered because you were just a speck in time. I think I'd rather my spirit of my work,
Okay.
little things start sprinkling down to other people, right? Or within the community or whatnot. I don't have to be the face of it. I don't need my name plastered on things, as long as it drives the next generation to do things better.
Yeah. So, like, this has been an amazing conversation, just getting into the inside of your head. And I feel like, this is the Last Fight Out podcast. So we ask this question to every guest that we have. Like, what was your last fight out moment? What was that moment where you sort of left comfort, and like, had you not taken that risk or that pivot, you wouldn't be here. You would have never done After's Ice Cream. You would have never been in Trill Burger. You would never would have done Bored and Hungry. Like, what was, or maybe it was a moment after those things where you just feel like you took a pivot. Like, what was that pivotal moment in your life where you're just like, you know what, like, I have to do this in order to get to the places I want to get to.
I think it just goes back to me as a kid, as a teenager already. When my best friend convinced me to drop out, it made me, if he never told me to go drop out and start a business, I don't think I would have been an entrepreneur without him. I think I would have just kept trying in school and just took the job that was presented to me at the time.
Can you imagine a world where like you're actually like working?
I hope not. I don't want to imagine that.
Exactly.
I never try to look at that because that's not what happens. So thank goodness thank goodness I had a group of misfits around me that were down there.
It's always so nice to have like a positive group of people around you who can elevate you like that. And going back to your other point about like never having to imagine that, like my dad's an entrepreneur too, right? And I see the way that you guys think similarly. He's in the real estate industry, and I remember when the crash happened. A famous story he likes to tell to people when he's like got a few in him is like, I looked at my wife and I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, am I gonna really have to go get a job?
Okay.
And he felt, for him, he said like, that is the worst nightmare for me.
Yeah.
Like, if you know my dad is, he's like, I don't want to work for nobody. Yeah. He just doesn't have the personality else to work for anybody else. And also he likes to get to the office a little later in the mornings, which wouldn't be like looked upon favorably in corporate America. So he was like, hell no. Yeah. That's when he started getting into BPOs, appraisals, and he started just like expanding his business and his discipline in the real estate industry rather than just selling and buying commercial homes, right? Or like or residential homes. So that is very interesting. But Andy, like, it's been an amazing conversation today. Thank you so much for making the time, for coming up all the way from your house. And I know it's your daughter's birthday, so
she'll be happy I did this.
I appreciate my daughter. This. Is there anything you want to like, you can let the audience know where they can find you? Is there any projects that you could talk about that's coming up that they should be on the lookout for? And then we can just wrap it up from there.
Yeah, you got on social media. You can find me at Andy the Nguyen on all social platforms. Upcoming projects I have coming up are, I think one of my biggest ones ever is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pizza Shop.
Yeah.
I've been working on that for a long, long time, and it's getting close to opening now.
Here
in Santa Monica. Yeah, Santa Monica.
Nice.
Yeah. The first one ever. No one's ever gotten this. Me and my friends are the first one to make this happen. This is like our childhood dream. I've been fighting for this project for years. I'm bringing you the best pizza possible. I got consultants from New York to develop this pizza, the best around. So I'm not playing around on
Well,
that.
naturally, if it's a Mutant Ninja Turtles, you have to get people from New York.
Yeah, you have to. Or I'm gonna get destroyed if I don't. I was like, yeah, I'm opening California. I'm already getting beat up for that, but at least I'm bringing the New York guys to bring the pizza right.
I was gonna say, are you importing the water?
But we're doing a lot of things. We're doing a lot.
Yeah. But thank you so much for the time, man. I really
I appreciate
appreciate
it.
it so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that share button. Make sure to comment on this video. Give us a follow across all of our social media channels where you can be found at Last Fight Out Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And you can give me a follow at JLubrio26. And you can give Mike, co-host, who's somewhere out in the world, at If Mike is here. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll be here same time, same place next week. Peace.
My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
Yo, it's film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a
What's going on, man?
Flat out.